Hey everyone, welcome back in. It's another episode of Bleav in Vikings for today, Monday, October 21st, and I'm your host, Mike Wobschall, joined as always on a Monday by Bryant McKinnie, former Minnesota Vikings offensive lineman, for a BMac Monday as we react to the Minnesota Vikings game from yesterday. Unfortunately, this time it's a loss for the first time this season as the Vikings fall to the Detroit Lions 31-29. BMac and I here to break it down, let you know what we saw in the game, and then we'll take a sneak peek ahead because the Vikings play in just 4 days in Los Angeles against the Rams. So we'll take a peek ahead and preview that game as well. All of that and more today on Bleav in Vikings. But first, Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything sports betting. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during games. With the largest catalog of odds on everything from football, baseball, playoffs, NHL, and NBA, even political props. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet Online. The game starts here. BMac, how's it going, man?
Pretty good.
Good. It's been a minute since we've gotten together because I was gone last week. I was floating around in the Caribbean on a cruise. So I was in your hood for a little bit because we flew in just a little bit north of you to Orlando. And we got out of Port Canaveral, got on a cruise ship with the fam, and spent a week in the Caribbean. So it was pretty cool.
How was it?
It was good. We had awesome weather. We dodged those hurricanes.
Right.
So I hope you're doing that right now. I don't know if another one's coming in or not, but you had a couple right in a row.
We did. They all kind of went north of me, like more of the Tampa area, and then there's another one, but it's not even coming towards Florida.
Okay, good. Yeah, we hit the Bahamas. I'm sure you've been there a few times.
Actually, I go there next month for a Canes Fest weekend. I'm one of the hosts, so I'll be back in the Bahamas again from November 8th to the 11th.
Awesome. Great spot. Hope you have good weather while you're there. Then we went to St. Thomas and St. Martin. So I don't know if you've been there, but two beautiful islands.
Yeah, I have. I actually went there on a cruise before myself. We did all the Virgin Islands part of the cruise.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely a good time.
I think the people, man, like people are so nice and hospitable. I don't know about the Bahamas, but the Virgin Islands is that way for sure. I mean, everybody. And then you even meet when you go on cruises, you're taking buses and trams and all that stuff, and you have drivers and people helping you with your bags. A lot of them in Florida are from the Virgin Islands. They're just so friendly,
They're very hospitable. I look at Bahamas as like South Miami. It's like an extension of Miami to me. Because a lot of people have come from the Bahamas to Miami, and they have a lot of family, vice versa. So it's very similar to me. But the islands are very hospitable, and they're used to having a lot of tourists come to where they stay.
Yeah, big part of their industry. So fortunately, all of those folks have been avoiding the hurricanes as well. A group that was not able to avoid the hurricanes was the Louisville Cardinals. Now, I kept an eye on them on the cruise ship, BMac. They had college football, so I was able to watch that, and it looked like the Hurricanes were in a little bit of a track meet there, and they won a high-scoring game.
They definitely were. I was getting nervous at a certain point, too, because I'm like, come on, defense. Like, hold them a little bit. I always feel like our offense is going to put up enough points, but defense, you can't keep allowing so many points either. But I know Louisville always has a good offense, so I kind of expected it to be high scoring, but Ken Ward keeps just showing why he's such a great leader and is able to keep leading these guys to a victory. So I'm happy.
Yeah, it's cool on those cruise ships. I don't know what your experience was like. You said you went on one, but it's cool because like on Saturdays and Sundays, people are all wearing their team's gear, t-shirts and hats, So I mean, I saw everything. I saw 12, 15 different NFL teams represented by fans, a bunch of colleges, right? That's kind of a cool part of it.
I can't remember. I went on one. It's been a minute since I've been on a cruise. I can't remember that part of it, of like what we did on Saturday or Sunday. Maybe I was still asleep. I don't know.
Well, the technology has gotten better too because now they got hurt. They got TVs everywhere.
Okay.
And so you're able to get an ESPN feed, or you're able to get NBC and CBS and all that stuff. And they have so many different restaurants and bars on there that some of them, they have a sports bar.
Wi-Fi gotten better on the cruises?
It's better. Yep, it's gotten better. It ain't cheap.
Oh, okay.
They get you for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was watching the game. It was 52-45. They moved to 7-0. They're 3-0 in the ACC. They're number 6 in the country. They play Florida State on Saturday. Now, I see Florida State's down a little bit this year. What's going on with the Seminoles? Because that's kind of a rivalry.
They've had a tough year this year, but I don't even care. But I will say this about rivalries is even you can when teams have their rival, it doesn't really matter what the record is. It's going to be a tough game. Like it's going to be a pretty physical game, at least from the start. They're going to come out and give you everything they have, so they have to always prepare for that and not really look at the record. That's anybody. That's when Minnesota plays Detroit, Chicago, or Green Bay. Like they're always going to get their best shots, throughout their game. So you can never look at a record and say like, oh, they're down this year. It's like, no, they're still going to play you extremely hard.
I think I was thinking about this too yesterday, because you see some upsets in both leagues, college and pros. Mm-hmm. And I think you can speak to this. Fans, I think, we can, non-players, non-coaches, we can look at some records and say, that team's favored by 7. That's an easy win. And it's like, I've been in the buildings. If you don't prepare like you're playing Tom Brady and Bill Belichick every week or Ray Lewis every week, you can lose to a team that hasn't won. You can lose to a bad team.
Because you're underestimating the team, and you're probably looking forward to the team ahead because you already feel like you got that in the bag. You're looking ahead, and you're not focused in on the now. And sometimes the team could slip in and get a win.
Yeah, and like Seattle, they'd lost. The Seahawks had lost 3 straight games. They fly to Atlanta, and they put one on the Falcons, who I think had won 3 straight. And it's like those guys are pros too.
They are. I mean, that's what when I was in college, Brett Reinberg was our center, and like if somebody made a play on him, he's like, well, he's on scholarship too. Like that was always his thing. But they are pros as well, and they have to figure things out too. And that's why it's any given Sunday, because you just never know what'll happen that Sunday. Like you can be projected to win based off of stats and numbers, but you still have to go out there and execute.
Yep. So the Hurricanes, not to make this the Hurricanes podcast, but I know you're passionate and you love them. So I want you to talk about it. The Hurricanes, obviously they eked one out against Cal. Louisville's always a tough one. They have Duke coming up in a couple of weeks. They're having a good season. Mm-hmm. But if you can take care of business against FSU on Saturday, win a home game against Duke, you guys are in really good shape, because after that it's Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, and Syracuse.
Right. And you know what? They lost to Georgia Tech last year too, so maybe this will be like a revenge game for the Hurricanes. But and it was at home last year, so they're away this year. At this point, they are being, at the beginning they were under the radar, but at this point they are now becoming people's focal point, and they're in the top, the top 10, maybe soon the top 5. But you have to remember that you're going to get everybody's best shot now because of your record. You know what I mean? So you have to go out here and prepare to play at a level that your opponent is unwilling or unable to match, because they're going to give you their best, because they want to be the one to give you their first loss. So you're going to get everybody's best shot, and that just comes with the territory of being good.
Yep, that's right. And we talked about that with the Vikings in our last episode. Mm-hmm. BMac, we talked about how the Vikings are now not the darlings and the Cinderellas anymore. They're the team with the target on their back, right? Mm-hmm. And Detroit obviously treated them that way. Detroit took them seriously and gave them a lot of respect, and ends up coming into Minnesota and getting a win. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But I know that I think you were scheduled to be in Minnesota last week. Did you end up going and talking to the team?
I did. I came up there last Sunday and I stayed till Wednesday. We talked to the team on Monday. Cool. Talked went really well. I feel like this is a good team. And I say a good team based off of their personalities and them having fun. So they are having fun with what they're doing. And despite them losing, I feel like they still put together a good it was a good game. I mean, it came down to like the last 15 seconds of final play, and they lost by like 2 points. And Detroit's a good team too. So it's not like, it was like a scrub team that just came and beat them. Like it was a good, evenly matched team, and just time wasn't on the Vikings side, and not having timeouts and things like that. But the talk went extremely well. Players were very interactive, which I appreciate. I didn't know what to expect because it's a different generation than mine, where we aren't really open to talk about things, but they were very open and discussing things, and we made it very interactive, so it went great, and the Vikings liked it, and looking to move forward to do more things with them moving forward, and then eventually they said they want to refer my team and I to other teams across the league.
Awesome. So your team, I know it was Tommy Harris. I remembered that, and
Mm-hmm.
You told me there was one other player, but a former player.
Ray Rice, but he wasn't able to make
Ray.
it because he had a situation with his daughter. But Dr. Tasha, who she's a therapist who speaks on my panel, she came as well. So it'll eventually be us. It'll be us four, and then I'm going to add one more person. I'm just trying to figure out who the other person is.
Very cool.
Be like a Jeremy Shockey. I just have to check people's schedule.
So when things like that happen, and one team takes you up on the offer, and you go and it works out, word kind of spreads from team to team. So I think you guys are going to have some luck
because teams already know what's going on, so they want to hear how it went for them, and then say, "Oh, okay, well then it went good. So let us try, see how it goes for us." So it'll definitely open some doors for us, so which is good. And I just like the fact because we're there to be like a extra ear or just giving some type of advice. So some people probably took some things away from what we were able to get across in those conversations, and they weren't anxious to leave. They were like really in tune into it. But that was the way I wanted to go about it, is make them a part of the conversation and not just talking to them or speaking at them,
Yeah.
So
for sure.
They were really good and they were very cooperative.
And the topic is mental health, correct?
So we talked about different aspects of mental health, whether it's setting boundaries, with friends, families, things like that, whether it's learning how to grieve. A few of those guys in there, had things where they were going through as far as grieving. Just different things that may take place in life and how you get through it. We talked about domestic violence. We talked about a few different topics.
Yeah. How about, do you talk about, do you ever get into let's say you have a season-ending injury. How about
So that's a form of grief.
Yes, that's what I was just going to say. How about the mental health? Everyone focuses on the physical rehab, but what about the part where it's like you feel like you're on an island or you're alone? Does that ever come up?
I know we talked more about anxiety this time around, but I mean, I will make that a note to make sure that we do discuss that. But I know that's a form of grief, but we touch grief more on losing a family member part. But that definitely could be something to discuss and talk about because it could potentially happen to anybody.
Yeah, for sure. And I thought of it because you saw the injury to Deshaun Watson, I presume, on Sunday. He tore his Achilles. That's what the Browns fear. They fear that he has a torn Achilles. And it's like, your teammates are going to say the right thing. They got your back and all that. And when they see you, they're going to support you. And it's going to be just like, but when that happens to you, you're not going out to practice. You're not lifting weights. You're not up in the lunchroom.
You're kind of isolated.
You are, you're not on the team bus. You're not on the team flights. Yeah. So I think, and then I think that also happens with some players too. And you've gone through this, when it's time to retire.
And
it's like,
I led with that. And that's being able to transition.
Yeah.
So I led with that, and I told them that's how I got that on my mission statement. Mental health was helping two other players learn how to transition if they were having a difficulty transitioning from life after football, and we're having moments, and so I led with that. So that's how we started off.
Yeah, cool. All right, awesome. Well, I'll be sure to ask you about that from time to time. See what other teams you guys go and visit, and it's an awesome topic to talk about. And you're right, though, BMac. It's kind of one of those. It wasn't taboo, but it's just not like macho to talk about mental health and that part of your life and of the profession. Maybe, when you were playing and before you were playing, but now people are a little more open to talking about it, and that's a good thing. So, all right. The Vikings will be tested this week, man, because they have a short week going to LA. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But I know you had your eyes on this game, and so did I, although I was from the Orlando airport, was trying to watch it. So I was able to do that. And then some of the stuff I missed, I went back and watched. Basically, what you had was the Vikings go out, and they're up 10-0.
So that's what I seen at the beginning was 10-0. I said, okay. We're doing good. So
and it was a little bit of an avalanche, and you've probably been on both sides of this, where in the first quarter, the home team, crowds behind them off of a bye week, everything was working. The Lions try to fake punt. The Vikings snuff that out. The Lions did not have a first down in the first quarter. It was 10-0, 10 minutes into the game. What's that like for both sides? Walk us through that environment when you're up 10-0 at home and then when you're on the road down 10-0 and nothing's going right.
Well, coming off a bye week and starting out fast and great like that, you're like, oh, great, we just picked up where we left off, and you kind of might feel like you have it in the bag and might get a little comfortable.
Yeah.
And Detroit, for them being on the flip side, is they're on the road. They know this is going to be a big win, and they need this win, especially on the road, because they feel like they'll have a better chance of winning at home. So let's try to get a win while we're on the road. So it's like, let's try to figure out, make some adjustments and see what's going on. And a lot of times that's what happens. During the first quarter, it's like, see how people playing. You get a feel for the person across from you, and you start asking, the coaches start asking each position, how do they feel? What do they see out there? What should we run and things like that? And you get feedback from the players. And I just feel like they were able to make adjustments and actually execute plays.
Yeah. People always talk about the halftime adjustments, right? And yes, adjustments are made at halftime, but like seriously,
they're made on the sideline too during the course of the game.
Exactly. That's where I was going. Like at halftime, people are going to the bathroom. They're changed. Like you might have an equipment situation, whatever. Adjustments are happening between series, aren't they?
Exactly. You come off and something goes wrong, you're going to talk about it and try to figure out how to correct it. You're going to ask what's working for you, what's not working for you. I know for me, if I feel like, oh, I'm having a good job blowing this 5 technique off the ball, run the ball to the left, and let me wear him down, we're going to do it. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's all about communication.
Yep. And I think when coaches can listen to the players and base some of their adjustments off of the experience that the players are having, that's good coaching. Good coaching is not just having a great game plan that you've worked on all week. Anyone can do that, right? Any coach can do that. You give them 5 days, come up with a game plan. Of course, you should have a good one. How about coaching on the sideline?
You can have a good game plan. You can have a potentially good game plan during the week. But if it's not working in the middle of the game, you have to know how to make the adjustments now, because you don't know what they're going to give you. So now you have to make adjustments off of what you see. And then the players have to execute your adjustments. So it's a whole bunch of things that trickle down to make it successful.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think we saw both teams doing that in this game because it was a back and forth game where the Vikings are up 10-0. Lions scored the next 21. Vikings overcame that, retook the lead. Lions kick a field goal to win it. So there's a lot of back and forth. How about when, I looked at the Lions, they won the division, made the playoffs last year, and that same core group of players is back. When you're part of that, don't you think you can go into the Lions den a little bit, be down 10-0, have a horrible first quarter, but you're more able to bounce back when you're part of a team like that, don't you? And you've been part of teams like that.
Yeah, I mean, you're more familiar with each other. You know what to say and do to kind of pick each other up and get things going. And some teams get to a slow start, but it's not about how you start, it's how you finish.
Yeah, exactly right. So, I was texting with some of my friends still with the team, with the Vikings, and I'm like, my opinion after this game, it didn't really change.
It didn't change for me either, because I feel like it was still a great game. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really came down to me, who was going to have the last possession, but they ran out of time. I felt like they had potential to drive down. The sack at the end, but they just ran out of time.
Yep, they did. They needed one more timeout or maybe one more play.
Yeah, definitely at least one timeout.
Yeah. The coach said, Kevin O'Connell said, so on the very last play, they were trying to spike the ball. They were trying to clock it, and then they got flagged for that infraction. O'Connell said,
which in a way was kind of good.
Yeah, it ended up giving them one more play. Yeah. But O'Connell said we were going to run the field goal kicker out there for a field goal try, if not for that penalty. So they were going to try a 68 or 69, 70-yard field goal to win the game.
Oh.
But then they got penalized, so they had to move back. It would have been a 72 or 73-yard try. So then they tried the Hail Mary. But you're right, man. You need downs and time, and the Vikings ran out of both.
Yeah, and to get the ball back for 15 seconds, that was not
tough, man.
Yeah.
That's really tough.
That is.
Yeah, so I think, my opinion doesn't change on the Vikings. My opinion on the Lions kind of goes up, because that's a one hell of a win, don't you think? I mean, undefeated. Vikings are undefeated. It's in Minnesota. You go in there and win a game like that. I mean, you're feeling good if you're Detroit. Yeah. So the Vikings are forced to bounce back quickly. Now, talk to me about your experience playing short weeks like this on Thursday night. What's going on at the facility?
They're there back. They're there. Like, you have to really put that game behind you. No time to even look at that film. We have to now focus on this upcoming game, which is in a couple of days. Because today's already Monday. We play on Thursday.
Yeah.
So our focus is on, this week and the game planning and not being as physical this week in practice because you're still having the aches and pains from, your game yesterday. But just going out here is more of a mental thing and trying to get your body back and recovering and make sure you're getting the ice tub and you're getting your massages and hydrating and doing those type of things. And you have a long trip out to California, so make sure you stay hydrated on that flight and everything like that. So just really being a professional.
Yep, that's right. It is being a professional. I think the tough thing is, I know the bumps and bruises, the body aches and all that. That's legitimate. That's an issue, especially after this game. You're really hurting. The bummer is spending half a day traveling.
Yeah.
Because on a short week you could use that half day to practice, to meet, to watch something. Like, now you're moving around buses and police escorts and hotels and planes. Like, that half day moving on a short week, that's tough. So it's tough on the road teams, man.
Yeah, it is. Because it's a pretty, what is it, like at least 3 hours for them, right?
Definitely 3-hour flight.
So yeah. And then planes dehydrate you too, so it's making sure you're hydrated. I know back when I played, they would give you one Gatorade and one bottle of water, and they want you to finish by the time you land, things like that. I hope guys take that into consideration and actually do it and realize that hydration does play a big component in your game.
Yeah, the trainer that Shugs, who was there when you were there, he always said, if you're thirsty, it's too late.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure you've heard that before from other trainers too. And them trainers are on you about hydrating. That's no joke, man. Especially for big fellas like you.
Yeah, I sweat a lot.
Oh my God. all those guys do up front, man. You're working harder than anybody.
5 to 7 pounds, man.
Is that really what it is?
Yes. Like during training camp, yeah, you can.
That's dangerous stuff too, and you're
and
familiar with
like to put it back on, like, well, you got to put it at least a certain. I'm like, I can't drink all that fluid.
Yeah.
But yeah, you drop a lot of water. Some people, I think, retain a lot more water, and then during that practice, it just releases. But yeah, you can drop a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, they played the Rams. Rams coming off a win. The other challenging angle of this interesting angle is.
Well, he gets to go back to where he came from.
Yeah.
So I know he's pretty excited because this is the first time he played. First time they played the Rams.
O'Connell, yeah, it's the first time the Vikings played the Rams with O'Connell. Yeah, so it's O'Connell,
sure
McVay.
To go back out there and like that's kind of like his mentor or where he started, and to go out there and kind of display, what his team is capable of doing. So I feel like this should be good fun, but also I know for sure he wants to definitely win this game.
Oh yeah, for sure he does. And of course the Rams do too. But it's O'Connell going back to where he coached, where he won a Super Bowl with the same head coach still there, the same quarterback, Stafford still there. Yep. Stafford, man, how about Matt Stafford?
Reinvented himself, but sometimes it takes that. Like just like how Sam Darnold, I feel like he's reinvented himself. I think you just get to certain places where you're comfortable with your environment, you're comfortable with your coaches, they're able to bring more things out of you, and you're able to go out there and really show what you're capable of. And I feel like Sam Darnold has been able to do that for the Vikings.
Yeah. I was looking at the Vikings offense. They were kind of, the Sam Darnold was the story, right? The first 3 weeks, it was awesome. Like, he was playing great. Since halftime of the Green Bay game, they've only got 3 touchdowns on 27 drives. Have you been part of an offense that was good but went through a little rough patch? And if so, are there any basic things you can do to try to get yourself back on track?
I don't know. I feel like a lot of times when I was with the Vikings, I feel like our offense carried a lot of things.
Yeah, it did.
Especially at the beginning, we were like always like in the top 1 or 2 in offense as far as scoring. I don't know if there was like a string of games where we had trouble scoring. Might have been a game where we didn't score as much, but I don't know if I actually experienced like a string of games where we had trouble scoring.
I don't think you really did, because maybe in 2006 you did right away, with Brad and Tavares.
And the quarterback changes and things like that.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Once you guys got to 2008 and 2009, you were clicking.
Yeah, and I know my first couple of years in the league, we were like 1 and 2 offense. We had like probably number 31 defense, but like we were like 1 and 2 in offense, so
you had Pep and you guys
Moss
were
and everybody, so yeah.
I feel like to me, I hear coaches talk about this. I hear Andy Reid talk about this a lot. It's like you're a high-flying, fast-paced offense, and you kind of lose your way a little bit. You go back to being physical, running the ball, like fundamental things, small victories, and then you can maybe get back on track. So maybe that's what the Vikings offense can do.
Yeah, but you can build that confidence back up. And I don't even feel like they lost confidence. I still feel like they played a good game.
Yeah,
you know what
they
I'm saying?
did.
Like, I know when you lose, and this is their first time this season losing, they're eager to get rid of that feeling. So I'm pretty sure they're eager to get back on the field and play to get rid of that. Because it's a feeling that you'll have the whole week until you play again. Yeah. And you want to get rid of that feeling so you can get back into the locker room after a win and feel good again. So they're eager, and I'm pretty sure they're happy that they play again on Thursday. It's just now you have to go out here and execute.
What you're talking about, that feeling all week. I tell people that too. I'm like, even for staffers like I was, like what you guys do, like how it goes on Sunday, that dictates how the rest of the week goes inside the building. Like I got to get people to do interviews, right? And it's like I can't go, to some of the players after we lose because they're not in the mood for it. Now you would have some of the guys were always just steady Eddie, and you could always go to them and rely on them, right? But like sometimes you lose a game, man, it's head down in the hallway. Right? It dictates the rest of the week for sure. I mean,
it really does. I mean, it puts the whole mood everywhere because now everybody's like not in the best mood and looking forward to the next game. So luckily they don't have to wait long.
I'm trying not to laugh in the cafeteria after we lose, right? Someone tells a joke, you can't laugh.
Everybody walking around just being super serious. Like
oh man. So LA, you might go out there. I know, well, you are going out there, but you're not sure about being at the game yet, huh?
I'm not sure about the game just of yet, but I am going out there on Tuesday, and then I just realized that they play on Thursday, so I will see.
God, you go everywhere, man.
I'm actually being honored for a Community Impact Award
way to go.
At a charity gala in LA, and so I fly out Tuesday, and I'm supposed to come back on Thursday and be back on time to attend this Florida State University of Miami dinner. I don't know why they decided to have this, and then we play FSU on Saturday, and then supposed to go to that game. So
I want your frequent flyer account or something like that, man. You're all over the place. Bahamas next month,
Oh yeah.
And then you might be at a Monday night tailgate tonight, huh?
I am tonight in Tampa. So Tampa, the Bucks play the Ravens, and Jimmy Seafood has reached out to me to ask me to come up and be one of the guests for hosting their tailgate. It's called actually. Okay. So I'm looking forward to that because I've never even had their food. I've never been to their restaurant. So they said I'm the only probably Ravens in franchise history who's never been to their restaurant. So I actually get to try their food at the tailgate.
Yeah. I think that's a big restaurant in Baltimore. It's a chain, but I think it's a big one in Baltimore, isn't it? Yeah.
It's definitely big. And I always hear people talk about it. I just never been.
Well, now you will, man. Now you can check that one off after tonight.
Still haven't been to the actual restaurant, but I actually get to try their food at the
tailgate. Yeah. That's true. You still haven't been in a building. All right. Well, we'll have a lot to talk about next week. We'll have obviously another Vikings game. We'll ask you about how all your travels went. The Vikings and Rams play on Thursday, so BMac and I will be back next Monday to break down what happens in that Vikings-Rams game. It's crazy, though, Bryant. They've had their bye already, so it's 12 straight games for the Vikings.
So this is a mini bye for them right here.
Yeah, I guess it is. That is a good way to look at it, right?
Yeah, I always looked at it as that. Like when I played, like, okay, this is a mini bye because now it's like we played on Thursday, so we have still Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Like, it's like a 5 days where you'll have to come in one of those days and you'll get like 3 days off. So it's like a mini bye.
Yeah. So lots going on the calendar here for BMac and for myself. The Vikings play on Thursday, so we'll be excited to break that one down. BMac will be back on Monday. We'll talk about what happened in that Rams game. And then we can even take a sneak peek ahead at what's to come for the Vikings because it's they play Colts, at Jags, at Titans. So, you look at those teams and it's like, oh, yeah, they don't have great records, should get some of those wins. But the Vikings have a stretch, BMac, coming up where they're at the Rams on Thursday. Then they come home and play the Colts. But after that, it's 3 straight road games at Jags, at Titans, at Bears. So, you can look at the teams and say those are easy games, but playing 3 straight on the road is no easy task, right?
It is not, and your focus has to be, you have to be a little more focused on the road just because of the crowd is against you and things like that. Yep. So, especially on offense. So yeah, it's just tougher. And then like, the crowd is against you, so it's just you and your organization.
Yeah.
So it can be challenging, and especially to keep having to get on planes for the next 3 weeks too. So that's why I say hydration is definitely important. So get a jump start on that.
All right, sounds good. Well,
and then you're going to Florida, so it's still warm here.
That's
so you
right.
definitely got to get hydrated for that. It's still, we're in the 80s still down here.
Yeah, you are. I was just there. It's warm, man. It's sticky and hot. That's for sure. All right, so we'll watch that game on Thursday. We'll be back with all of you guys on Monday for a BMac Monday to break it all down and ask BMac about his travels. So that's going to do it for today's episode of Bleav in Vikings. We thank you all for watching and for listening. If you aren't already, please like, follow, and subscribe. Bleav in Vikings, and you can hear from Bryant McKinnie every Monday as he breaks down the Minnesota Vikings during the 2024 season. Go to YouTube, check us out there. If you are not just a podcaster, you want to watch us on YouTube, we have a YouTube channel, so watch Bleav in Vikings on YouTube, and then go to all the major podcasting platforms, download, like, follow, and subscribe Bleav in Vikings. All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the game on Thursday, and catch us again for another BMac Monday next Monday. Until next time, keep believing.